You've probably heard that journaling can change your life, helping you reduce stress, solve your problems, and process all of your thoughts swirling around in your head. But if you've ever sat down to journal and felt completely stuck, or you find your daily pages turn into huge to-do lists instead of deep reflections, or maybe you've even started strong on your journaling habit only to fall off after just a few days, I get it. I have been there. And I used to think that the problem was me. I'd buy new notebooks, try different journaling methods, and force myself to write every day, but no matter what I did, journaling did not stick. So I started asking myself, why was journaling so effortless for other people, but impossible for me? And that's when it hit me. What if the real issue isn't you at all, but how you process your thoughts? Hi, I'm Paige, and 4 years ago, I decided to let go of society's expectations for me and quit my 9-to-5 job without really any plan. The only thing I knew is that I had a goal of wanting to follow a path that truly felt like mine. So if you've ever felt like the traditional way of doing things doesn't quite fit you, then you are in the right place. In this video, I'm gonna break down why journaling isn't working for you and 4 ways to get all of the same benefits without writing a single word. Anytime I tried to journal, I was always fixated on the way of journaling. Maybe I wasn't asking myself the right questions, maybe I needed a different journal, I needed to create a space for me to have uninterrupted time to actually write, but none of these things worked for me, and I realized that journaling is an internal processing tool, kind of like meditation or deep thinking. But what if you're like me and you're an external processor? What if writing down your thoughts doesn't even help you actually process and make sense of them? This could be the key reason why journaling is not sticking for you. And there is another way that works so much better if this is you, but first you need to know if you are an internal or external processor. So an easy way I like to look at this is by thinking about how you handle conflict. If you are in an argument or a disagreement or a fight with someone, are you someone that's like, hey, let's separate, let's both go to sleep on this and talk about this tomorrow? Or are you the person that's like, no, we have to keep talking, we literally have to resolve this right now, let's look at it from every angle until we come to a conclusion together? If you pick the second one, then you were like me and you were an external processor, which means that traditional journaling might not be the best fit for you. But that doesn't mean you can't get the same benefits, and I have found 4 other ways that I get the same benefits that everyone talks about when it comes to journaling without actually having to write and journal. The first one is a very basic one. We're starting super simple here, and that's to actually just talk to someone that you trust. This could be a friend, a family member. This could even be a random person in line with you at the grocery store. Through talking to someone about what problems you're currently going through, by describing what's currently going on in your day and reflecting on it and thinking about your conversation with them the same way you would think about those journaling prompts you see, you're going to find that you start to externally process and get those similar benefits that you would get from regular journaling just by talking to someone. You'll start to see new parallels between things you're going through in your life. You'll be able to think through and actually see the answer to problems that you're stuck on. And honestly, in a lot of ways, I think that this method could be even more beneficial than journaling because you actually get someone else's opinion and someone else's thoughts in your sphere while you're thinking about your problems. Looking back, I have always been an external processor. When I was younger, my mom talks about the fact that I used to say that I would ask like 10 to 15 people for advice about something I was going through and want to get as many opinions as possible. My mom, on the flip side, is 1000% an internal processor, so she never understood, why are you asking all these random people for their advice? Like, do you even trust their advice? Why do you need all of their advice? And what are you gonna do when you have 10 different opinions? But what I found for me, again, as an external processor, was that by asking all of these different people for their opinions and for their advice, it actually helped me to process my own opinions and my own advice for myself so that I could solve my problems with my own values in mind. Because when I would hear someone else's advice, my brain would be like, nope, that's not aligned with you, or, oh yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And sometimes I would even learn new things about myself that I didn't know before by getting all of these different inputs while I was making those decisions. If you're doing this type of processing, this type of verbal journaling by talking to others, you can take your phone and write down any key points after conversations you have with others and just put a simple title of whatever that day is or whatever you were working through or talking about, and just record little ideas here and there from those so that you're getting kind of that same history benefit of being able to look back on those ideas and those reflections later in the future. And I'm talking minimal here, like literally a 1-sentence thing for a 10-minute conversation, not writing notes for the whole entire conversation. But if even that feels like too much, then you will like number 2, which is to use voice memos. Voice memos are my favorite thing in the entire world for so many different reasons. Not only have I started using voice memos to communicate with my clients in my business, I also am utilizing them to be able to verbally journal. If I have something I'm trying to process mentally and there is no one that I have that I can talk to, or it's the middle of the night, or even if the thing I want to talk about is just something I want to keep to myself, I can go in the bathroom, go in the closet, or if it's something I'm fine sharing in front of my husband, verbally journal on my phone with voice memos in my notes app right there whenever I need to. And nowadays with most notes apps, especially the one on iPhone, as far as that's the one I use, it has the ability to transcribe your voice memo so that you can actually have the written transcription afterwards and you can look back on it whenever you need to. Just again, one tip I will give is to at least title the note whenever you do a voice memo so it's a little bit more organized. Shove them all into one folder called verbal journaling and call it a day. But if you're feeling a little bit extra and you want to go one step further, you could take that transcript, go put it into ChatGPT and ask it to pull out any key points, key reflections, any action items that came from it. And then you'll have like a quick summary from that voice memo. And so it might feel like a bit more organized for you, especially if you're one of those people like me who when you try to do written journal entries, they just end up being huge to-do lists. You'll probably find that while you're verbally journaling, you'll be like, oh, and I also need to go to the grocery store. I need to go buy milk. So being able to look at that afterwards and see that transcript and put it and get out a summary is super helpful. But I found that ChatGPT can only do so much in this realm, and I started using this new software called Tana to make this process like 1,000 times smarter. So this is point number 3, which is to use something like Tana to help you structure your notes and actually get valuable insights that then directly get pushed into things like your task list, questions to ask clients, or future meetings as reminders to bring up with a coworker or client of yours. With Tana, you can literally take your iPhone and record a voice memo directly into it under a specific super tag that has preset fields that the AI then looks for to pull out points from what you share. I love using the daily prep feature to talk about my day, talk about what I'm grateful for, and talk about any action items that I have coming up, and then let Tana do all the rest by pulling out those key points, sticking them where they need to go, and then it's something I can easily look back and reference whenever I need to. They also keep the full transcript so you can always look back at everything if you want a bigger look at exactly what you talked about. But I find this an awesome way to be able to journal on the go, whether I'm in the car or I would say on a walk, but I don't really do many walks anymore with the pots. But it's an awesome way to be able to get as much information out of your verbal journaling as possible in the same way that someone who is paper journaling would. And then the top tier number 4 way that you can get the most out of verbal journaling and to replace your analog journaling would be to do what I'm doing right now, which is record videos of yourself. They don't have to be structured and polished. You don't have to create a script. The point is literally to just put your phone up and start recording yourself. Talk to yourself as if you're your friend and tell yourself whatever happened in your day. Process your problems that you're going through and give yourself feedback on what's happening in your life. I found that through starting my YouTube channel, which really initially started as a way for me to verbally process and externally journal what was going on in my life, I found out so much more about myself, and I am so grateful that I started this channel for that exact reason. Now, the big plus here is you don't have to actually ever create a channel or post these videos anywhere public. You could create a private Instagram and not let anyone follow it and just post all your videos there so that you have this entire feed of your verbal journaling for as long as you want to keep up with it to be able to look back on. And I think this is a really cool memento that you could keep for your children in the future. It'd be a really fun way to create an Instagram page for all the days that you're pregnant, for example, and sharing little stories for your future child. So you could really use this in like a gift way as well, which I think is really fun, but you could keep it completely private too. And if you really want, you could go as far as to actually post it on social media publicly and potentially find a community of like-minded people that think the same way as you, which I have done here and absolutely love. And while you might think that looking at yourself in the camera is kind of weird and is not going to give this like authentic feeling when it comes to journaling, I actually find that if I'm not recording a video, but literally just doing a verbal journal session, talking to the camera and just letting myself freely talk about whatever I want, that I almost feel more connected and authentic whenever I am looking at the camera versus when I'm just doing a voice memo talking into my phone. I find when I'm talking into my phone, I kind of like stop caring about what I'm saying almost too much to the point that it starts to like make no sense and it has like no rhyme or reason and I go on crazy tangents and don't really get anywhere. But if I'm talking directly to the camera, it's like my my brain subconsciously thinks of it like someone else is gonna listen to this, someone else is watching me, and I'm communicating with someone, which means that whatever part of your brain makes you communicate more effectively so other people actually understand you kicks on and things make a lot more sense. So if traditional journaling never worked for you, that does not mean that there's anything wrong with you. I think with the way society is nowadays, we see all of these trends and things that we're told are the best things to do, and we should meditate every day and do deep breathing exercises before we sleep. And it's not a one-size-fits-all method. While there might be studies out there that show something like journaling every morning can impact your well-being and increase your happiness or serotonin and dopamine levels, there's also other things that you can do that will also increase that. And when they do these studies, they're not analyzing everything. They're not specifically looking at whether the people are internal or external processors. And who knows if there's some type of bias in the study by the people that actually sign up for the study or people that know that they already like to journal. So I find that it's really important to be super objective and not look at things from a very specific lens and really ask yourself, does this specific trend or this specific habit actually work for me? And when you do that, you might find, like I did, that some of them just don't. And once you know that it doesn't work for you, you can find alternatives like what we talked about today and actually get similar benefits that you really never thought you'd be able to get. So let me know in the comments down below whether you're an internal or an external processor. And if you're an internal processor, I'm curious if journaling is something that you keep up with very well or struggle with in different ways. And on the flip side, if you're an external processor, I'm curious if any of you actually keep up with daily journaling. And if you do, let us know what helps you be able to journal and still kick that part of your brain that's the external processor side of it, because I'm really curious for any other ideas and tips to get the most out of something like journaling. If you found this video helpful, I would love if you would stick around and join the community, because we are always talking about alternative ways to living and de-influencing a lot of the typical productivity and self-help advice that you hear out on the internet nowadays. But that's all I have for you guys in today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Kick that part of your brain